Oh, hey there. It's the movie show. Hey, welcome to Film Dailies. I'm your host, Brodie Sexton-Clark. Brodie Tall Boy Sexton-Clark. Oh. We're going to talk about a film noir classic from the 1950s called Kiss Me Deadly. Kiss Me Deadly is directed by Robert Aldrich. It's a bit of a genre mashup. Like, for most of it, it's a tough as nails, film noir, hard-boiled kind of thing. The film follows this guy called Mike Hammer. He's a very self-motivated dude. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. He's looking out for his own self-interest. He's machistic. He's not emotional. He's stubborn. And he jeopardizes everyone. He's driving along one night on a dark road. He picks up a hitchhiker. It's a woman. She's flitting away with her woman talk and her woman problems and them lady feelings. She sort of suspects that she's being followed. She won't give Mike Hammer very much information. She just tells him that she's in trouble. She has something of the feeling of a potential fallen woman, which is an archetype in these kind of film noir movies. You know, they kind of talk and flirt a bit and like you're not sure where really it's going. And then a car kind of emerges that it's been following them. So they get ambushed by some real tough hoods who kidnap them. They murder her. They put him in the car that's soon to be destroyed. He survives, wakes up in the hospital. The police tell him to just drop it, tell them what happened, who she was, you know, a bit of information here, a bit of information there. You know, so he gets involved, like he wants to figure out, kind of get to the bottom of it, not because he wants to avenge her for her horrible death. He doesn't really give a shit. He just feels like somewhere in there's some kind of thing for him to chase. And he wants it, whatever it is. He doesn't even necessarily want money. He just wants whatever the trouble is. Whatever, like, if there's something to chase, he wants to chase it. He's like a fucking hound. It follows a pretty typical film noir thing when the gangsters get a sense that he's on their tail, trying to figure out and piece things together, like the mystery of the thing and stuff. They try to kill him in a variety of ways, put a bomb in the car, sick the henchman on him, you know, follow him around, that sort of a thing. I don't really want to spoil the mystery because part of the fun of these movies is watching like how characters get from A to B to J to H to Q to P. You can see how this movie, and I know there's a lot of film noirs that have a lot of these tropes and stuff, so maybe not this movie specifically, but it feels to me that this movie specifically inspired a fair number of movies, just like specific shots that are very reminiscent to me of like Pulp Fiction, Lost Highway, and Inherent Vice, to name a more recent one. I feel like some of the tone, especially with the pool party, kind of rich mansion sort of scene, some of the vibes and aesthetics going on during that scene, I just feel like really very much match a lot of other movies. And I feel like maybe this movie is just one of those film noirs that's so unique in a sense that it really inspires a lot of other art. The thing with the movie is also that Mike Hammer is a total dick. Like, he's really unlikable, but it matches the film because nobody in the film is likable. I mean, not even the women are likable. I know like a lot of them femme fatales or whatever, but I mean like the main lead female works with Mike Hammer, and really what his job is he defrauds husbands by getting her to seduce them and then, you know, framing the husbands for money so that they don't tell the wives. Like, it's pretty fucked. She is crazy about Mike Hammer. You can tell she really loves him, and to me, she was, despite being a pretty shitty person like anyone in the film, I found her someone to sort of connect with. I wouldn't say she's a strong character, but I mean, all of the characters are archetypes. I wouldn't even say Mike Hammer's a strong character. I would say that Kiss Me Deadly is a power fantasy. You know, it's about a strong macho guy that has no feelings, that doesn't listen to common sense or like any kind of like trouble. But he leads so many people into complete trouble, and like so many countless deaths and tragedies that could easily be avoided are directly his fault. The movie makes no fucking ifs or buts about that. Like, he's a violent son of a bitch, but this whole world is nihilistic and evil and stupid. There's scenes of violence, of like Mike Hammer beating a guy against the pulp, beating a guy down the stairs. There's one of my favourite types of action scenes where Mike Hammer's running away from some gangsters and they kind of like run onto the sand and they're all tackling each other, and it's done like in a wide shot with like no soundtrack. It's just all diegetic sound and it's fantastic. Like, I really loved this scene. I wish more action films today just did these kind of action scenes, because they used to do it a lot in older movies, and I'm actually a big fan of it. It just really de-glamorizes the violence and just shows almost like adult children just kind of having at it. And it's so messy and like, you know, silly, and it kind of dispels the myth, but in the same way, the fact that such huge acts of violence come from something so banal, and that violence is that banal in the first place, I think is brilliant. I love these kind of depictions. I don't think it's the film itself. I wouldn't call the film like genius for having a scene like this. I just think this style of framing action scenes is genius, and I wish it was around more often. You know, you can even make it comical, like the fight scene in They Live, like that. Fantastic. Love that fight scene. Put on the glasses. I'm not gonna put on the motherfucking glasses. Put on the glasses. Great. It's hard to talk about this movie because it does do something interesting in the third half, and to really get into that, I mean, I'd have to spoil a lot of stuff. And I don't necessarily want to spoil it because, like, part of what's interesting about this kind of a movie is going in not really knowing where it's going to go. I mean, it's a mystery film, so how it unravels is really interesting. I mean, I can set the tone. It has a lot of the film noir tone. It has a lot of, like, wooden acting, but with how great the cinematography and the kind of storytelling it is, the kind of wooden blocky acting works. I mean, this is a movie that was made for drive-in theaters. A lot of the film noirs happen to be really fucking brilliant. It's just people didn't take them very seriously at the time, but when the French film critics and the like started going, bravo! It is the peak of American expression of cinema. Oh yes, the film noir, and they even gave it the title film noir. I mean, Americans didn't even call it film noir. They just probably called it like trash. You know, they probably thought it was a lesser genre. But I guess I will talk a little bit about the ending, but cut to here if you don't want to know what happens. Yeah? So the film kind of does a hard turn into cosmic horror, like sci-fi, where there's a sort of like the MacGuffin that kind of drives the film turns out to be a sort of Ark of the Covenant, Pandora's box kind of a thing, but it's got this sort of it's got this Cold War connotation onto it, so it's sort of this like alien or this radio technology that's been made to eradicate whole things, but you're not exactly sure what it is. But when the box is opened, a bright beaming light comes out and will evaporate anyone that opens it. How that builds up into a finale is fucking amazing. It's terrifying. The box is open, they're screaming, and the flames! The flames! It's just such a bizarre shift in tone, and even then, I'm not really going to spoil that much, but it really starts to mix sci-fi and horror, and I guess cosmic kind of horror, into a sort of really nice sort of middle ground and meshing of all these different genres. Really builds to this really strong nihilistic kind of apocalypse of an ending that really encapsulates like a lot of the film and a lot of the styles and a lot of the, you know, see, like the film noir is really quite the opposite of, say, like the Western. Like, you know, the Western movie, the traditionalist Westerns that America used to make really did believe in a lot of the values that it was presenting in the films. I feel like film noirs are more of a subversion of values. They're showing you the dark side, the gritty nature of these urban cities and what they've done to the human soul and spirit to many extents. It's very exaggerated and extreme, but I don't actually think that a lot of these movies are really that masculine or you know, sexist or violent and brutal. I feel like they're exaggerated in that way to make a point. It's really subverting the film nature. So, but it's also showing it to its most extreme end. So having an ending like Kiss Me Deadly has really shows a strong vision of what all these archetypes in a boiling pot together in this kind of sin city that it creates really builds to. And that's just chaos, and it's just, you know, for lack of a better term, it's a godless world. It's devoid of hope, and it's really ugly and hideous, but in a stylized way, like it is beautiful to watch, and you end up loving it. I think a film like Kiss Me Deadly you either like or you don't like. Like, if you don't like film noirs, you're not gonna like it. If you like film noirs but you want to see something a little bit different that kind of tinges into new territory that perhaps hasn't really been explored in a film noir before, it's a really good bet. It's a great late stage film noir too, like it was towards the end of the period, so it's one of the last major classics of the film noir genre, and it's definitely worth checking out. I really loved it. I totally got blown away by the ending. I thought that really made the film, and the whole ride's fun. I liked seeing traces of how it may have inspired other films. Yeah, I'd like to see some more Robert Aldrich movies. I know that he also made The Dirty Dozen and a few other films like that. Alright, I will catch you guys. Why is it so hot?